For our first reflection, we meet Martha, and we meet her first of all in Luke chapter 10. Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. This certain village was called Bethany, and it became a special place for Jesus. The Bible tells us nothing at all about its scenery or how many people lived there, but it does tell us that it was in Bethany that Martha received him into her house. Martha's welcome must have meant so much to Jesus, since he'd only just declared at the end of Luke 9, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." But there was a welcome for him in Martha's house. Martha had a sister called Mary and also a brother, Lazarus, whom we read more about in John's Gospel. While Martha busied herself in getting a meal ready, Mary sat quietly at the feet of Jesus, taking in his every word. I'm sure that Martha would want that meal to be just perfect. You've probably known the feeling. You've got visitors coming and things aren't ready. Nothing seems to be going right. And suddenly it all gets too much, and temper's pressure valve blows. Martha probably felt just like that, and there was Mary, doing nothing to help, just sitting, listening to Jesus. So Martha bursts out, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me." And it was just because he cared for Martha that Jesus calls to her in this urgency of love, "Martha, Martha, you're worried and troubled about many things." Of course, the Lord greatly appreciated Martha's hospitality and kindness, but in his love for her, he wanted to help her to get her priorities right. It's still difficult for us today to get those right. So the Lord would turn Martha's attention away from the many things that troubled her, the cleaning and the cooking, and to the one thing that really mattered. Two other episodes in Martha's life stand out. In John 11, as we've already touched on, Lazarus fell ill. But Martha and Mary knew what to do. Therefore the sisters sent to Jesus, saying, "Lord, behold, he who you love is sick." Instinctively, in their need, they turned to him. They knew enough about him to know that he cared. In our need, let us be ready to turn to him too. He's only a prayer away. And so when, in his Father's perfect timing, Jesus eventually arrives in Bethany, Lazarus is already dead and buried, and Martha challenges him, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you." Despite Jesus' delay, she still had faith in him. And when Jesus says, "Your brother will rise again," Martha replies, "Yes, I know he'll rise again in the resurrection on the last day." But the one who would exercise that resurrection power in the last day was standing before her that very moment. And so Jesus can answer her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he die, he shall live." And Martha would see that resurrection power there and then. And finally, we read a few verses which tell us about the last time we meet Martha in the Bible. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, who'd been raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil of spikenard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. Here, Martha is in her element. She's got her priorities right. She's serving. Lazarus, in his new life, sits at the table in fellowship with the Lord Jesus. And Mary comes, in worship, anoints the feet of Jesus with her precious, fragrant oil. In this threefold blend of activity, of service, fellowship and worship, Jesus was honoured in this special way on that day, just before he was crucified. They might never have had another opportunity, but they seized it at the right time and honoured him.